I now call the November 21st, 2023 Finance Committee meeting to order at 6:45. Chair would entertain a motion for the approval of the claims.
Your Honor, I'd like to make a motion for the consideration of claims to be paid in the amount of $394,455.42. A lawn credit card in the amount of $6,460.55. Payroll and liabilities for November 6th, 2023 and November 17th, 2023 in the amount of $455,667.16 for a total of $856,583.13.
Second.
Thank you. Are there any amendments or discussion on the claims?
Madam Chairman, being on the solid waste board, it's interesting to note that when I first came to office here, that we were spending roughly somewhere between $90,000 to $85,000 on solid waste a month. And I was assured by solid waste that during times of downturn, etc., that people did not economize on throwing things away. But if you look in the records, we are paying substantially less than the $85,000. Currently, we paid $58,000 some odd dollars. So we are economizing. We are doing better on solid waste.
Thank you. Anyone else? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passed. Is there anything additional that the committee needs to review or to discuss?
I have nothing, Your Honor. Thank you.
Thank you. In that case, we're adjourned at 6:47.
I call the November 21st, 2023 regular meeting of the Riverton City Council to order at 7 p.m. Last minute request, but Councilwoman Borders, could you give us the invocation? But I will start with leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Certainly.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for the opportunity to meet tonight. We ask for your guidance as we work together in our efforts to do what's best for our community. Strengthen us as we make tough decisions that are right for our citizens. We ask that you watch over our police and first responders who protect and serve us every day. Thank you for the many blessings that you've bestowed upon us. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. All right. Thank you. Would the Administrative Services Director please conduct the roll call?
Yes, Your Honor. Councilwoman Carla Borders.
Here?
Councilwoman Lindsay Cox.
Here.
Councilman Mike Bailey.
Here.
Councilman Dean Peranto. Councilman Kyle Larson.
Here.
Councilwoman Christy Salisbury.
Here.
And Mayor Tim Hancock.
I am here. I declare we have a quorum. Chair would entertain a motion for the approval of the agenda as presented, removing the Outstanding Young Citizen Award.
So moved.
Motion by Councilwoman Borders, second by Councilman Peranto. Discussion, amendments. We will be still recognizing our outstanding young citizen. She is ill. So we will be recognizing her the first meeting in December. I would encourage you to come and clap for her. I think it's great. So I'm not going to do any spoilers. Wait until December. All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
I vote aye. Any opposed say nay. Motion passes. Moving on, Small Business Saturday Proclamation. Councilwoman Salisbury asked if I could just read the first paragraph, and I will, but then I'll read the rest of it. Whereas the government of Riverton, Wyoming celebrates our local small businesses and the contributions they make to our local economy and community, and whereas, according to the U.S. Small Business Administration, there are 33 million small businesses in the United States. Small businesses represent 99.7% of firms with paid employees. Small businesses are responsible for 62.7% of net new jobs created since 1995, and small businesses employ 46.4% of the employees in the private sector in the United States. And whereas 68 cents of every dollar spent at a small business in the United States stays in the local community, and every dollar spent at small businesses creates an additional 48 cents in local business activity as a result of employees and local businesses purchasing local goods and services. And whereas 72% of consumers reported that Small Business Saturday 2022 made them want to shop and dine at small independently owned retailers and restaurants all year long. And whereas Riverton, Wyoming supports our local businesses that create jobs, boost our local economy, and preserve our communities, and whereas advocacy groups as well as public and private organizations across the country have endorsed the Saturday after Thanksgiving as Small Business Saturday. Now therefore, I, Tim Hancock, Mayor of Riverton, Wyoming, do hereby proclaim November 25th, 2023 as Small Business Saturday and urge the residents of our community and communities across the country to support small businesses and merchants on Small Business Saturday and to shop small throughout the year. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand this 21st day of November in the year 2023. I will tell you that we have a lot of great businesses here, great business owners, and Small Business Saturday, probably not a big deal to some people, but I would highly encourage you to spend your money locally. It may come as no surprise, but money that is spent here stays here, and it actually also increases. Oh, good. There we go. It increases the money that we have available for our local governments and organizations. So I would encourage you to shop at our small businesses, and especially this Saturday. All right, next I have another proclamation. This is for National Apprenticeship Week. This is actually last week. I signed a proclamation, gave it to High Plains Power, who actually were the ones that requested it, but I'll read it here today. Whereas National Apprenticeship Week is celebrating its 9th anniversary of raising awareness of the vital role registered apprenticeships provide in creating opportunities by allowing apprentices to earn while they learn and preparing a pathway to good quality jobs and well-paying careers in Riverton and across the nation. And whereas registered apprenticeship programs enable employers to develop and train their future workforce while offering career seekers affordable paths to secure high-paying jobs. And whereas Riverton recognizes the role of registered apprenticeship in expanding opportunities in our workforce that are inclusive of individuals who have been historically underserved, marginalized, and adversely affected by persistent poverty and inequality, thus providing a path for all qualified individuals, including women, youth, people of color, rural communities, justice-involved individuals, and individuals with disabilities to become apprentices and contribute to America's industries. And whereas Riverton recognizes that registered apprenticeship, a proven and industry-driven training model, is a key strategy to improving job quality and creating access to good-paying, family-sustaining jobs for all, starting with youth and young adults while addressing some of our nation's pressing workforce challenges, such as rebuilding our country's infrastructure, addressing critical supply chain demands, creating a clean energy workforce, modernizing our cybersecurity response, and responding to care economy issues. Now, therefore, I, Tim Hancock, Mayor of Riverton, do hereby proclaim November 13th through November 19th, so last week, as National Apprenticeship Week in the city of Riverton. All right. I did not just read the first paragraph.
I really didn't want you to just do it.
I know, but I had to call you out for it.
I thought it was funny.
All right, well, next thing on the agenda then, we have reports and comments. Why don't we start with Councilman Paranto?
Excellent. All right. I was unable to attend the airport board meeting this last Friday, so hopefully city personnel can fill us in on that. And other than that, since our last meeting, I haven't attended any other meetings, but want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you. Councilman Larson?
Your Honor, I attended the Solid Waste Board on Monday and report back that Du Bois Transfer Station is, for all intents and purposes, complete except they put the change box in the wrong corner. So they have to reroute that. And the one in Lander, they finished their work on the foundation, and that will start again in the springtime, and that should be complete by November of 24. They also have sent out bids for the new transfer station at Sandral. And there were 3 companies that were looking at the pre-meeting, and as of yet, that won't be due until December, mid-December. And that's about it.
All right. Thank you.
Oh, one last thing.
Oh, you don't
They
want to
were-
keep talking trash?
No.
Sorry.
I don't play basketball. At least not at this age. The board was down 3 members, and 2 of us reapplied for extending our terms, and one threw in the towel and said he's had enough. And the interesting thing is that we have had, and the city of Riverton has had, a continual employment vacancies, whether it's police or whatever. And there's 3 people, there's an engineer, $90,000 that we can't fill, plus 2 operators over there that they haven't been able to fill. And it's Fremont County wide. And, you know, you would think that somebody would be willing to come to wonderful Wyoming and fill those vacancies, but, you know, I had an opportunity to go back when I was working at Chemical Marketing Services, and I just wouldn't trade what I have here in Riverton for all of the traffic jams and lineups and Krogers that you could stand in Salt Lake City. Just couldn't do it.
Well, we're glad you're here.
Yeah, me too. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Councilwoman Salisbury?
I attended the chamber meeting on November 12th, and some of the main points were the Wind River Heritage Center Board rescinded the offer to the chamber to run and own the Wind River Heritage Center. So they're taking it back. It was kind of under one director and then not another director, and it wasn't really planned out well to be able to run the Heritage Center, so they're taking it back. The chamber's moved to the previous spot across the street from A.D. Martin, and then after the meeting, there's a proposal to move it again. It hasn't been decided yet, and so there was some discussions on with the new director and some of the board members on different concerns back and forth between what we're using Chamber Master, not our new website, back and forth. And we also had a resignation from the board and a new member on that. And so I think we're trying to get things organized, and hopefully at some point, they've changed the structure of it where the committee chairs will be reporting on their area, and that hasn't quite happened yet. So I'm hoping once things kind of get in order and figured out that we kind of get some structure into that. So that's all I have.
Thank you. Councilwoman Borders?
Your Honor, tonight I have quite a list, which is kind of nice for a change. So first of all, I want to report on the pause meeting that we had in November. I guess it was the end of October, we are getting ready to do the craft fairs. So every weekend from now until Christmas, you'll be able to go find a pause table, and they have all sorts of good stuff that you can buy. Dog dishes, T-shirts, all that kind of thing. The Finance Committee met earlier before this meeting. And then there's a couple of things I wanted to mention. One thing is I did a police ride-along. Veterans Day was my day, and I did the full shift. And it was very eye-opening. We were busy the entire day. And those guys really need to be commended for the work that they do, because they deal with a lot of the same issues every day, and they do a really good job trying to make sure everybody's safe and taken care of. I did get to watch a bunch of new recruits do their PT early in the morning, and it was cold, but kudos to them for getting out and running laps, and I was glad I was watching.
They didn't get you to do it too?
They did not, no. Thankfully, they didn't ask, so I didn't have to say no. Let's see, what else do we have? Upcoming next weekend will be the Festival of Trees. November 30th is Family Night. Of course, everybody that knows me knows this is near and dear to my heart. And it's a really good cause. I'm under the understanding that I believe they've sold out all the tables for the gala Friday night. So that's pretty, I think they just put the tickets on sale yesterday. So that was a pretty big deal. So November 30th, Thursday night, 6 p.m., family night. Bring the family, the kids. There's all sorts of things, cookie decorating, face painting, cakewalk, all sorts of different activities. And then the following December 2nd, on Saturday night, we're going to have our 6th annual tree lighting. And that'll be behind the depot. And they'll be serving hot chocolate, cookies. I think the first 100 kids get a glow-in-the-dark bracelet or something like that. So that's always a great time, and we'll see whether we're in a blizzard or not. Last year was pretty cold. So dress warm and come out and enjoy yourself. And it's a great time of the year for our town, and I'd really like to see everybody participate. That's all I've got.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Councilwoman Cox.
So last Thursday was scheduled for 2 meetings. The senior endowment was rescheduled because they've elected a new president to their board, Devin Murray, and they weren't aware of the meeting, so we had to reschedule. It's either going to be next Wednesday or Thursday, depending on availability. Then the EDGE committee met later that evening for a quick meeting because people had to get to Thanksgiving festivities. But they did decide to open the next round of applications for December 1st through the 31st. And then they will review those and set a date in January after their meeting on the 21st of December. The rec board will meet on December 4th at 7. And I was able to attend the craft fair this weekend down at the fairgrounds, and it was a really great one. I mean, there were a lot more tables set up, booths this year than I remember in the past. So, like you said, support local people, and that's a fun way to do it, and maybe get out and see people you haven't throughout the week. And that's it.
Thank you. Councilman Bailey.
Thank you, Your Honor. My wife and I were very happy to serve breakfast to the veterans on Veterans Day. Had a really nice turnout, good breakfast, and had lots of folks show up, and went from 6:30 a.m. to about 10. And then they had the Veterans Day Parade after that, and the CWC had a concert after that. And so it was a very nice, and I talked to the guy at CWC, and they had a very good turnout. Several, I think a couple hundred people or more at the Veterans concert, and so that turned out very nice. Then on Monday after that, let's see, yeah, I went to the Force Committee meeting, and again, they are trying to get a handle on the projects that we have coming for next year. Several, they're getting ready for bids. They plan on doing over $1 million in just street maintenance, overlays, chip sealing, that kind of stuff, just to keep the streets in decent shape. And of course, they are always very frugal and trying to get the best bang for our tax dollars that they can, and doing as many projects in as many different areas. And but the cost of those projects just keep climbing, and so that's a challenge. And so that 1 cent money that we all contribute to through the sales tax is being very well used, in my opinion. And again, that tax is coming up next election, this next November, and so we need to all be thinking about that and making sure people see the different projects that we're working on. That's one of the things they talked about, was probably getting out and probably marking some of the projects that they've done this summer, so that people understand where that money came from to get those different streets repaired and stuff. So they've got a lot of those coming. If anybody has any streets that need work, again, they need to consider turning those into the Force Committee so they can sort of get them on the list. And there's always way more projects than we have money. That's just how the world works, I guess, so.
Is the airport road on any of that?
What's that?
Is the airport road on any of
The airport road is on the list, but it is also being considered funding out of the Urban Systems Committee, and that's a big project. Probably to do that whole road from the bottom of the hill all the way to the airport would be $12 or $13 million, and the Force Committee funds for the city of Riverton generates about $2.5 million per year. So that would blow the budget for quite a while. So we're hoping to get some additional grants and help, and, it's probably going to be multiple funding sources to get that done. It's definitely in dire need. The city, I think, has got up there and fixed a few areas that are challenging, but that road gets a lot of traffic, and so we hope we can figure out a way to get that done too. So it's definitely a topic of discussion every time, so.
I think they have it prioritized third or fourth right now in terms of they have everybody list what they think needs to be done and prioritized. And I think Flag, Freedom, that area right over there near the UPS is
Yep,
right now on the
those
top.
streets are failing pretty rapidly, lots of issues. They would take a complete overhaul. And I can't remember the exact order that we ended up putting them in, but, again, there's always a lot of projects, so. And then this Thursday, the 16th, I was at the DUI task force in the morning with Mayor Hancock, and again, very well represented by all the law enforcement agencies around the county, and a lot of the prevention groups, and the state of Wyoming, and YDOT, and all of them. And so, again, it's a constant effort for us to get out there and try to, promote not driving under the influence, I guess, if that's the right way to say it. But they're doing, several little areas where they focus on and bring a bunch of people from out of town. So if you, I would recommend not going out and drinking and driving, because you're not going to like the consequences if you get picked up, so.
But it's okay if a Lander police officer pulls you over.
That's right. We have a interagency agreement where Lander PD and Highway Patrol and County and City of Riverton and all of them can write
Shoshone.
tickets. Yeah, and Shoshone and everybody can write tickets in all of the municipalities. And so, watch
Don't
what you're doing.
drink or drive.
That's right.
That's right.
And they've noticed when they've done these little events where they go out and do a big event in a community, they've noticed they did not get very many DUIs, which is good. Some of them they advertise ahead, some of them they don't. But the other interesting thing that I noticed was when they're out doing their big operation, the calls for service are down dramatically, which are not always, they're not DUI calls. They're the other calls that would happen during a normal day, they go from 10 or 11 a day to 1 or 2 when they're out in force like that. So there's a correlation between, getting out there and being visible and policing and making people know that we're watching and the amount of calls that we end up, so.
Yep.
I think it's a great deal. So,
Yeah.
thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Butterfield?
Thank you, Your Honor. I just have a few things to run through. I appreciate the information that was shared about EDGE, and I'd like to add to that Ms. Harris and her team have also been working to improve the information available on the city's webpage. On the main front page, there's now a ribbon or a button that can be selected that will allow individuals to get information about the half-cent economic development tax. There's also a ribbon providing information on the 1% tax as well. And the information regarding the application period will be added to the website, and we'll make sure that we do a good job of promoting that in the community so you and the committee have opportunity to receive and review applications. We have good news in regard to Aspen Park. We've referenced in the past that the new playground was installed, and today the project was completed. There's new rubber mulch to go with the new playground equipment. And want to say thank you to Fremont County Rec Board for supporting that project. Excuse me, it was the school district, not Fremont County. So School District 25 Rec Board, and also the Public Works team for installing that. We're excited to report that we will have a officer return to the police department. One of our officers moved out of state in June and has recently returned to the state of Wyoming and wanted to return to the police department. And so we're happily welcoming back one of our previous officers. We had 2 candidates for the patrol officer pass the PT and interview portion of the application, and they are currently in background. So we hope to add to our pool of officers as well with these 2 that are working through backgrounds.
Yahoo!
There is an opening for the community service officer position that's currently being advertised, and we have 6 applicants already interested in the 2 vacancies that we have for that new position. Also happy to report that we have 2 new finance clerks. You've probably had an opportunity to also meet our new administrative assistant. We will have a new community development clerk starting soon. There were interviews held today. And we've also had some opportunity to promote some of our Public Works Department employees to vacancies that have occurred recently. And we will be advertising some positions in Public Works in the near future. So as Councilman Larson reported, finding labor is a challenge, but I think I'm seeing a lot of success right now in filling some of our vacancies, and we're really happy to see additions to our team. It's already been reported that Thanksgiving is coming up, but I'd like to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving, but also remind folks that City Hall will be closed Thursday and Friday, and that we will also have an amended operations schedule when it comes to sanitation. The routes that are regularly collected on Thursday will be collected on Wednesday, so our drivers will be doubling up the Wednesday and Thursday route tomorrow. And then sanitation routes will be run per the norm on Friday. For recycling, there will be no recycle routes run on Thursday or Friday. The Thursday route will be doubled up on Wednesday, so tomorrow, and Friday's route will be doubled up on Monday. So just a reminder to our community about those changes. I just want to say thank you to our employees that are going to be working the holiday. To our dispatchers and our officers who dedicate themselves to working the holiday and serving our community. And I hate to forecast something, but it's likely that we will have a snowstorm over the holiday break. So I want to say thank you to our Public Works team as well, who will be providing snow removal services. In addition to that, it's exciting to note that Mr. Eggleston has installed some new software and equipment and technology to help us perform better in responding to storms. We've had cameras placed in town that have an opportunity to not just view the conditions, but also read the surface temperature of the road and provide alerts to our Public Works team so that we can mobilize at an appropriate time, especially when there's ice buildup. So again, I want to say thank you to our teams that will be working over the holiday and serving our community. Finally, there has been some discussion about campers and other items throughout town over the last little bit, and I wanted to read a section of code. This is in our zoning section of code, and just as a point of information for our community, our code does state that except as otherwise allowed pursuant to the ordinance of the city, all occupied travel trailers or mobile homes shall be parked in an approved mobile home park as defined in the current city code of requirements. There are a few exceptions to this. One is for construction site trailers, and someone does have to receive a permit for those. It does also state in our code that one unoccupied travel trailer may be stored at an owner's premises. And in all cases, travel trailers must be stored in a way that cannot obstruct the views of intersections. It does state that visitor parking and occupancy of travel trailers is permitted within the city for a period not to exceed 72 hours, provided that individuals that are occupying those travel trailers have permission of the property owner. And our code does state that in no case shall the travel trailers be parked on any public right-of-way. Community Development Director Michael Miller and one of our police sergeants interacted with an individual just today to enforce this section of code, and I think did so in a very professional and kind way, where an individual was parked on the right-of-way with an intention to reside for a certain amount of time, and Mr. Miller gave them notice of the code in 72 hours to move on to a more permanent location that's out of the city right-of-way. But I did want to mention that because there has been some questions and some discussion in the community about whether or not it is allowed to use a travel trailer or a mobile home outside of a mobile home park, and our code does not allow that. With that, Your Honor, I'll stand for any questions.
Thank you, sir. Okay. Couple of things that I'll report on then. I did get a chance to attend the DUI task force. Mr. Bailey was there as well. We have a good group of people there. We've had pretty good attendance. I think that was some of the highest attendance we've had in a while. People that were involved and trying to become involved in that. I would encourage you, if you are interested in assisting in whatever way you can, to attend those meetings. It's something that's done through the Governor's Council on Impaired Driving. It's actually run by a representative from that group. We had a good opportunity to have actually former Judge Wesley Roberts, who was there, and he's also a part of the Governor's Council on Impaired Driving, and so it was good to be able to attend and discuss that. For folks that are interested, I don't know when events are unless I look at my phone. The next DUI task force meeting is January 10th. It's here at Riverton City Hall, and it's at 10:30 a.m. So January 10th at 10:30 a.m. A lot of what we do is discuss and try to figure out, what's going on, what things we can do to improve. Part of the discussion has been around this multi-jurisdictional enforcement team. I guess I would add to what Mr. Bailey said, don't be surprised if you get pulled over in the city of Riverton by a Lander Police Department unit or a Shoshone Police Department unit. Also, don't be surprised if you get pulled over on the highway by a Riverton Police Department, Lander Police Department, or a Shoshone Police Department unit, because this multi-jurisdictional enforcement team applies to the county as well as Riverton, Lander, and Shoshone. So stop if you have flashing lights on a vehicle behind you. If you do want to ask if it's a Riverton Police Department unit and you want to verify, just to make sure they have authority to stop you, feel free, call dispatch. They'll tell you, 856-4891. Don't flood them with calls, but if you're wanting to make sure and you're curious, feel free to give them a call. They'll probably answer quickly and say, yes, it's authorized, we're busy, talk to you later. Nothing against them, it's just they're busy, they are. I had the opportunity to attend the parade for Veterans Day. That was a really great event. I enjoyed that. I hope that gets bigger and bigger every year. They had that on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month, which was originally, as it was, Armistice Day. And it was a great event. I appreciated people coming out in what was a fairly cold day, but still nice enough weather to be out for a parade. And hope we get more people doing that in the future, both attending and having floats in that parade. Also had an opportunity to attend a little bit of a Thanksgiving Day, pre-Thanksgiving Day potluck with the Riverton City employees. And really appreciate that. I think Mia Harris put that on. We'll give you credit even, yes? Okay, good, I thought. That was just here at City Hall. It was a great opportunity to rub shoulders with some employees that we have for the city of Riverton. Pretty well attended, I thought. Good food, good people to be talking to and everything, and just really enjoyed that and appreciate you putting that on, Ms. Harris. Thank you. We also had a little bit of a mixer with downtowners, which was just an opportunity to meet people and get a little bit more of the word out about what the Downtowners organization is all about. That was a good opportunity, and we had that at the Elks Club. The Downtowners is working very closely with the Main Street, what's the name of their group? Wyoming Main Street? Anyway, they have 4 different goals about economic development, being able to beautify, those kinds of things with Main Street. The focus is on. And I really appreciate the work that they're doing, and would encourage you, if you're interested in improving our Main Street, reach out to the Downtowners. They've got a good group working. I also had an opportunity to do a ride-along. Ironically enough, I chose the day to do the ride-along based on when I heard that Councilwoman Borders was doing it. So I heard she was starting at 5. So I started at 5. Well, she was starting at 5 a.m., and she did a full 12-hour shift. I started at 5 p.m., and so I'm looking around for Councilwoman Borders thinking she's slacking off. No, she did a full shift from 5 a.m., and it was a 12-hour shift. I did half. I had to get up to go to the Veterans Day breakfast where Mr. Bailey gave me some food, and Mayor Warpness complained about how he gave me an extra sausage that Mayor Warpness didn't have. And Mr. Bailey's response was, well, if you were mayor, I'd give you an extra sausage then too. I guess that doesn't apply to former mayors.
That's right.
I thought he was pretty quick-witted with that. But anyway, I had to be up the next day, so I only did a half a shift, but it was really good. We have a very hard-working, good police department. We have people that spend hours, and I really appreciated Councilman Peranto did a ride-along as well, and he did a full shift as well. I'll get one in. I got to catch up with the both of you. They work for hours, and they are very dedicated to their jobs, and they're just some good people. I think they're very patient with the people that they deal with. I would probably not have as good of a temperament as they do for dealing with some of the things they deal with. I mean, you get out there, and if somebody starts talking to you nasty or rude or whatever, they just take it in stride. I wouldn't be as good at that. So I really appreciate their temperament, their professionalism, and their ability to work and keep our city safe. So that was a good opportunity.
Their kindness, too.
And their kindness. Yeah, that's a very good point. I did say, though, I need to do better at doing, like, when we get the plows out, I'll try to do a ride-along with some of our snow plows and probably with some of our sanitation workers. I mean, I don't want to sit here and talk so much about our police department. We have a lot of people that put a lot of work in for the city of Riverton, and I appreciate them. So, thank you.
Might get a chance Thursday.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Thursday comes along, I'll get done eating right when I'm getting ready to take a nap. I'll say, this might be a good time for a ride-along.
Yeah, give me a holler, I'll hook you up.
Thanks, appreciate it, Brian.
You too can have a CDL.
Yeah, no, thank you. Do not want that responsibility. The last thing I'll report on is that we've had some hard work from some of our individuals at the police department, and they were able to get a grant to allow for each of our police officers to get a line that they have through T-Mobile. It was a grant through T-Mobile where they would fund those. And then we had Monument who donated money for the phones. So the line was just for the line, but you need to have a phone. And really appreciate Drew Bott from Bott Monument who donated $1,500 towards that for our officers to have phones. And that was just really appreciated, and they'll go a long way towards making it so that our officers can stay communicating with each other, with the public, taking pictures. They're just going to really come in handy. So I appreciate his work and his willingness to do that. That's all I have to report on. And we're doing great on time. All right, next thing on the agenda, then, we have communication from the floor, citizens' comments. Anyone in the audience that would like to address the council regarding an item that is already on the agenda, you'll be given an opportunity when that item is called. If you'd like to speak about something that is not currently on the agenda, I'd ask you to please come up to the podium, tell us your name, an organization that you're involved with. If you are multiple individuals involved with an organization, I'd ask you to leave your comments to about 10 minutes. If you're an individual, I'd ask you to keep your comments to about 5 minutes, but the time is now yours if you'd like to come up and use the podium. Just make sure you tell us your name. Okay. Doesn't look like there's any takers. All right, well, would the Administrative Services Director please read the consent agenda items by title only?
Yes, Your Honor. Approval of the minutes, November 7th, 2023, regular council meeting. Approval of the minutes, November 7th, 2023, executive session. Approval of the minutes, November 21st, 2023, Finance Committee meeting. And approval of the Finance Committee recommendations, November 21st, 2023.
Are there any other items that require further discussion?
Your Honor.
Yes.
The Finance Committee met earlier this evening and agreed to pay consideration of claims to be paid in the amount of $394,455.42. The Elon credit card in the amount of $6,460.50. Payroll and liabilities for November 6th and November 17th to be paid in the amount of $455,667.16 for a total of $856,583.13.
Right, and I just wanted to verify, was the Elon credit card 6466055 or 6466050?
646,055.
Okay, great. Sounds good. Okay, the chair would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So
So
moved.
moved.
Second.
All right, Councilman Bailey with the motion, second with Councilman Pronto. Any discussion or amendments to the motion? Mr. Bailey?
Your Honor, I'll abstain from the Bailey Enterprises line item of the Finance Committee.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments, amendments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I vote aye. Any opposed, say nay. Motion passes. Funding agreement, Miller Bulk Goods, Administrative Services Director's report, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. If you don't mind, I'm going to report on all three of the funding agreements with one staff report.
Thank you.
Before you tonight are three agreements for use of the 0.5% optional economic development tax fund for three entities: Miller Bulk Goods LLC, Spotted Buffalo LLC, and Riverton Medical District. On November 7th, 2023, the City Council awarded the funding recommendations for a total of $121,173. Each of these respective agreements are included in your packet. Each of the agreements include the following general provisions. The city and recipient agree funds associated with this agreement will be used in a manner that will increase or retain jobs and/or result in a net gain of money into the community. The recipient shall provide the city a report of the number of employees at the time of funding and for 3 years after the receipt of funds. The recipients acknowledge and agree that funds paid by the city pursuant to the agreement shall be subject to recovery by the city if the recipient fails to meet the standards and requirements set forth in the agreement at the sole discretion of the city and to the extent determined appropriate by the city up to the total amount provided by the city through this agreement. The recipient agrees that awarded economic development funds should be expeditiously spent in a manner consistent with the terms and conditions of the agreement, and should the recipient not utilize the funds awarded them within 18 months of receipt, unexpended funds shall be immediately returned to the city. The recipient agrees to submit to the city a report detailing the use of awarded funds within 18 months of receipt or once the funds are fully expended, whichever comes first. The aforementioned report should include, but not limited to, proof of purchase, receipts, warranty deed, and documentation of the real property procured. It should be noted that the draft agreement should be changed from Miller Bulk Foods LLC to Miller Bulk Goods LLC, and this will be updated with a final copy. And then also, after further review by the staff at Spotted Buffalo, Section 5C of the Spotted Buffalo Agreement will reflect a change of requiring 4.5 full-time employees rather than the 4.0 full-time employees listed in the draft copy. The recipient will employ 3 part-time employees and 1 full-time employee. The City Council may choose whether or not to enter into the agreements of the proposed drafts or recommend changes to their terms and conditions. And I would stand for any questions that you may have.
Thank you very much, Ms. Harris. All right, well, same as we did, I guess, the night we were discussing these, I guess we could just take them one at a time. I'd entertain a motion to approve an agreement for use of economic development tax funds between the City of Riverton and Miller Bulk Goods LLC.
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Larson with the motion, Councilwoman Borders with the second. Any discussion or amendments?
Your Honor, I like these, the new form of the agreement. Makes it a lot easier to track and see how the funds are being utilized, so thank you for doing that.
Yes, thank you. And I will say, I think it sets a good standard for
Yep.
the other communities that have these funds and in terms of,
It's something I thought was really missing in our, basically being able to manage and keep track of those funds and how they're used.
any other discussion or amendments? Do we need to have an amendment to reflect the changes you had already changed, or we wouldn't need a vote on that, Ms.?
Your Honor, I don't believe you need to. We've discussed it, and this is the draft version. It won't be final until the time of approval, so we'll make those changes before then.
Okay, sounds good. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I vote aye. Any opposed, say nay. Motion passes. Funding agreement for Spotted Buffalo, then. Chair would entertain a motion to approve an agreement for use of economic development tax funds between the City of Riverton and Spotted Buffalo LLC.
So moved.
Second.
Councilwoman Cox with the motion, Councilman Paranto with the second. Any discussion, amendments? Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I vote aye. Any opposed, say nay. Motion passes. Funding agreement for the Riverton Medical District. Chair would entertain a motion to approve the agreement for use of economic development tax funds between the City of Riverton and the Riverton Medical District.
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Larson with the motion, Councilwoman Borders with the second. Discussion. Everybody read this and nobody found any typos? I'm just teasing. I know there's no typos, Ms. Harris.
Trying to find one now.
And now you're looking. All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I vote aye. Any opposed, say nay. Motion passes. Thank you very much for your hard work on that, Ms. Harris, and thank you for our applicants and recipients. Look forward to seeing some great things out of you here going forward, and thank you. All right, well, next up, we have something that's new and exciting.
Your Honor, may I use the podium?
Yes, sir, you may. We've got the 2023 construction season report with our esteemed host, Public Work Director's report from Brian Eggleston.
Should have fired this up sooner. But anyway, buckle up. This is going to be earth-shattering.
Did you tell your staff to celebrate Thanksgiving tomorrow? Get all the turkey and
They got work to
potatoes?
do.
You need a
We
Vanna
should
White
swap those
assistant.
days for them, knowing the snow's coming.
Our projector is firing up. As the mayor pointed out, this is our end-of-the-season construction review in review. The projects we had this year, the big project was the Davis Lane reconstruction project. It is essentially complete right now. There's some few little touch-up items we'll need to do this next spring to wrap it up, but essentially it's completed now, which included new water, new storm drainage. Cul-de-sac at the bottom has been expanded so you can actually turn a truck around in it now. And some concrete. We also jumped into the pavement preservation projects, which was very beneficial. We did several upgrades at the wastewater treatment plant. I won't get into them all tonight. And then we had a water distribution system upgrade this year that was completed by our staff in-house, replacing 75 foot of water line on West Jefferson. I'll start with Davis Lane. This project began with the planning back in 2016. Our HDR was the firm hired to perform the engineering and design work. That began in 2017. Gannett Drive was bid and awarded in 2020 to Jerry Bornhoff Construction for a contract price of $1.252 million. Design continued on the Davis Lane project, working on a viable solution to collect the storm drain, storm runoff in that area, which historical storms were flooding the residents out in that area. That project went to bid early 2023 and was awarded to 71 Construction for $1.8 million. You take both those projects and look at them size-wise, very similar projects, scope-wise, and you can see how much of an increase we're dealing with over just a few years. Construction prices are significantly higher, and a lot of this was not the oil or the asphalt that you might guess, it's everything that went in underground. Those prices for pipes, fittings, and everything went up. This is the Davis Lane project, just a few pictures. As you guys may remember when we awarded that bid, it called for a boring under Main Street to extend the water line attached to a 14-inch water main. The picture on the right side is that line, and I have some better pictures. This is a bore and then pull that pipe through. They assemble that pipe. It comes in lengths of 40 feet. They have a machine that they heat joints with and glue them together, which we're told that the actual seam is stronger than the pipe itself. The pipe's about, like I say, they come in 40-foot lengths. They're about just shy of an inch thick, very thick pipe wall pipes. This is a section of the water line, the water main, that had to be cut out to accommodate a T to attach our 10-inch line. And this is the boring machine. It's actually set up on the Davis Lane side of the intersection. They bored under Main Street and hit that excavation in the middle right on the money. It's incredible how they can do that stuff. Picture on the right, far right, are the 3 valves. We isolated that 14-inch. It had very few valves in it, so if you had a water break in the area, you had to isolate the entire neighborhood or several neighborhoods. Now, sections of that line can be isolated on either side of that T, and also the main line running into Davis Lane can be isolated from the rest of that system now. Picture on the left is actually pulling the pipe through. The one on the right is the actual length of the pipe after it was glued together or melted together. They had to assist in forcing it through the hole with a little track loader. It's a high-density polyethylene pipe, and this was a pipe. They used the pipe to bore through the hole that's made by the other machine. This is still Davis Lane, but this is jumping from the main line under Main Street now to the drainage, the storm drain that was added to that area. They started at the bottom to work up. This is the same style of pipe. It's a little larger in diameter. And once again, it was assembled in 40-foot lengths and then laid into the trench. Several manholes were also added into this project, so we could isolate cleanouts if we needed to. This pipe in the middle runs all the way up Davis Lane, and later in the presentation, I'll show you where it ties in right at the highway. After the storm project was done, they started going back from the bottom up and installing the 8-inch water line. Once again, we used several valves so we could isolate particular areas without having to disrupt water service for the entire area. This is the picture on the right, the guy with the white helmet on the right is Bob Sprague. He's pinpointing those fittings on GPS so we can find them later. We have much better records of what we have underground. Once again, just some more. This is actually the tie-in on the north end of Davis Lane where it's up to the line that went under Main Street. After that part was done, we started tying in the service lines into the residences and moved all the people off of temporary connections back over to the permanent connections. picture on the right, it's kind of hard to see, but that is a concrete pipe that comes from the storm drain on the main street, the highway side. Our line, that black high-density pipe ties into that and runs all the way down to the bottom of Davis Lane now instead of surfacing and surface flowing that water down through the subdivision. This is, the pictures in the middle is kind of a wrap-up of the construction project. On either side of it shows the outfall of the drainage down on Pat Hutchison's property at the far lower end of the drainage. Outfalls there and then falls that ditch under the canal to a normal drainage area that's already. Thanks to the Hutchisons, they gave us an easement across their property to put that drain in. It was amazing how much time it took to engineer just the storm drain part of this project, coming up with something that was viable and agreeable to everybody. Then we jump into pavement preservation projects. This year, with the slurry seal treatment, we treated 3.8 miles of roadway with that slurry seal. We also did approximately 1,100 feet of roadway with full depth repairs. That was on East Park, on Forest, and then intersection of 12th and Pershing. The Forest Drive was a full width from around the alley by next to McDonald's east about a block. That road had horrible drainage in that area and many, many potholes because of the drainage. I'm kind of jumping around now. I'll show you some examples of the pavement preservation first. It's kind of hard to tell. These roads are starting, they're in relatively good shape, but the oil is starting to dissipate out of the aggregate. You can tell by the light coloring there. Prior to us doing any pavement preservation of these roads, we sent our crews out to crack seal and prep the roads before the contractor arrived to do that. These photos, this is a good example of a slurry seal before and after on the right-hand side. That's a type 2 aggregate. It has fairly sizable aggregate in it, so it'll hold up to heavier traffic. It's similar to what you see them doing in the parking lots when they're spraying or just laying down the emulsions. That's a type 1. It's more sand than aggregate. This will hold up to roadway traffic much better than that. It's a fairly quick process. These guys can get in and get out in short order. That 3.8 miles was done in like 3 or 4 days from start to finish. The maps here kind of show you the areas we did. The one on the left-hand side is the Woodridge area. Some of these roads were recently paved or recently upgraded within the last 10 years. Some of those roads, in order to protect them over the long term, we applied a slurry seal just to extend the age of those roads. The photograph on the right-hand side is basically between North 2nd West and Broadway, and then south of Pershing, some of the older part of the city. Good thing about the slurry seal is it sets up fairly quickly. You can be driving on it the same day that we lay it down. You have to keep it closed for about 6 hours, but generally speaking, you can be back on it the same day. These are the full depth reconstruction. Picture on the left-hand side is East Park. That area, actually from Rocky Mountain Power east, showed significant potholing and poor drainage just on the south side. So this corrected the pavement and the drainage in that area. Interestingly enough, on the East Park, while we were excavating that, I ran into what appeared to be portions of an old landfill. Started digging up junk from way back. I also ran into some heavy clay there, which causes problems. You just can't get a good finish on it. So we had to over-excavate part of East Park and put road base back in there to get a good surface to pave over. Photograph on the right-hand side shows the area of Forest Drive that we did full depth repair on. That was shoulder to shoulder, that whole road through that area. Had very little crown and a lot of pooling with the water. Drainage was horrible, and it was also creating lots of problems in that area. This kind of after the pavement goes down on Forest. I told you about one project that we did in-house was 75 foot of water line on West Jefferson. Our crews have been working several breaks in that area for the last few years. This year, we budgeted to replace that water line. We're able to accomplish it in-house. Our crews excavated it, pulled the old line out, put the new lines in, put the valves, hydrants. Everything underground was installed by our team. And then they, once it was refilled and backfilled, our streets and alleys crews prepped the area for paving. So it was a pretty good team effort there. Sage Mesquite Sewer Project. That project started last spring, just after the snow went off, so kind of late spring. This project involved replacing sewer lines from the Sage Mesquite area, running it under the canal to a storm sewer inlet on the end of Second West and Jackson. It's about 1,100 feet of water line. This was a high-density polyethylene pipe burst, which I'll show you how that works. It's very creative. It's quick to do, and you don't have to excavate the world to install this pipe. If my slide will change. This is an example of pipe bursting. Oops, sorry, let me go back. You junk. Push it up here. Next time I'll try to add some dramatic music for effect.
You could sing.
No, you don't want that. This is, excavation would be on the uphill end of the trench, and this would be coming out right around the manhole with the sewer in. What they do is they just pull the new pipe through the old pipe and just burst the old line out of the way. Like I say, it's a great way to do projects like this. You don't have to excavate and have a extremely long open trench while you're doing this. You can just pull it through the existing line and move on. Find my mouse again, there you are. Well, the photograph on the left-hand side is the bonding machine that is, they put the two pieces of pipe together and basically bonds them together. These are, like I say, 40-foot sections. They assemble quite a few of them together. And they're very heavy. This is on the lower end, on Second West, where they're prepping the line to burst into the old. You can see how long in the photograph on the right, you can see how they've got it laid out right out about a block. And this is where it entered the old sewer line. I'm going to cover a few of the upgrades we did at the wastewater treatment plant this year, not all of them, because I think you'd like to go home tonight. One of the big projects we did this year was replace a return activated sludge pump. This pump has to be lowered in from that access point on the side of the building. It's too large to get into the building otherwise. Have to lower it down with a crane to this location in the deep wells of the wastewater treatment plant. That's the old pump that came out. And the new pump in, or almost completely in. This is a large RAS pump, as they call it. On the top of, or kind of the right-hand edge of the photograph, you can see another blue pump. It's a smaller pump. It runs full-time. Or it's run full-time right now just because of the other two pumps. Capacity hasn't been what it needed to be. That's now corrected. Another project we did this summer was replace the auger in the grit chamber. The auger was worn out and a lot of grit and sediment was passing into the system and actually wearing out pumps prematurely because of the added grit. That new auger, I think they estimate that they remove approximately 75% of the sediment and grit that would normally flow through. There's improved systems that we'll probably be looking at in the future, but right now this is a blessing that we got this back online. Talked about that smaller pump. This is the number one pump that was replaced earlier this year. Like I say, a smaller diameter. It's a very efficient pump and can still move quite a bit of material through the system. Then we did a motor control center upgrade at the treatment plant too. This one is, we're starting to get into the 21st century with this project. It's actually connected to a network that can assess when a pump needs to be turned on or shut down instead of having to manually flip switches or have some sort of an alert tell you that there's a problem there. Like I said about my old job, but we used to enjoy using yesterday's technology tomorrow. We're actually moving beyond that now. It just takes a while. This is a flow meter was replaced this year. And we replaced both influent and effluent sampler pumps, or collectors this year. They monitor basically the condition of the water as it comes into the facility, and also checks it on the way out, so we can verify that we're remaining compliant with EPA before it's discharged. And then we also replaced some digester blower motor. That pumps air into the system. Helps support the growth of good bacteria. This was a polymer pump upgrade. Polymer we used in with the centrifuge when we're making our sludge. We have to pump polymer in there to help it bind together. And we had some roof repairs at this wastewater treatment plant this year as well. So now it's not leaking like a sieve either. We found all kinds of leaks this past winter. Now for my most favorite part of the presentation. Are there any questions?
It's a lot of big work.
This is just a small sampling of what's gone on this year, but everybody's been really busy. You guys would be here till midnight if we covered every project that we did, so.
Your Honor, I just want to say I appreciate that you're doing marking things with the GPS and having other, like planning ahead and being able to isolate certain areas. I appreciate that.
We're keeping
Be
really
planning
good
for
records
that.
now.
That's nice.
We know where they're located and what exactly they are.
That's nice.
I was joking with Councilman Pronto that you could get one of those little tile things and just put it down there where the valves are and just make it start beeping. Just put your ear over there and try to find the, probably not the best idea.
We'll take that under advisement.
Those batteries don't last forever, so, yeah,
And that's the only drawback.
it's true.
I'm surprised you don't wonder why I had one in my pocket.
I know, I was
I'm
wondering.
always
Somebody-
misplacing my pocket.
You're always misplacing.
Your wife has to keep track of you somehow.
Yeah. She's like, where is Dean?
Probably not untrue.
If you hear your pants beeping, you know your wife's looking for you.
Again, go off
Well,
all the time.
Thank you, Mr. Eggleston. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Clearly have a lot of people that are hard at work in the Public Works Department, and really appreciate the work you put into keeping the infrastructure and everything going for the city of Riverton. So,
We have an incredible team,
yeah, I'll say.
and I have the pleasure of leading them.
All right, well, good.
They don't let me play, but
No, they don't. You tried to say, hey, could I,
No, they won't.
burst this pipe? And they're like, no,
no, they won't let me anywhere close.
I bet not. All right, well, that's it for the business part of the meeting. We do have an executive session for real estate. I'd entertain a motion to convene into executive session for the purpose of real estate, consideration of site selection or purchase of real estate in accordance with Wyoming Statute 164405A, Romanet 8.
So moved.
Romanet 7, I should say, not 8.
So moved again.
Second.
Still second.
Say Councilman Larson has the motion, and we'll say Councilman Pronto has the second this time.
That works.
Any discussion or amendments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion passes. We are convened in an executive session at 8:14 PM. Chair would invite Mr. Butterfield and Ms. Harris to attend the executive session, please. to reconvene into regular session.
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Larson with the motion, Councilman Bailey with the second. Discussion or amendments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I vote aye. Any opposed, say nay. Motion passes. We are reconvened into regular session at 8:29 PM. No action items. I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Councilman Peranto and a second by Councilwoman Cox. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed, say nay. I vote aye. We are adjourned at 8:30 PM.